我们的节目经常有我跟著名科学家的对话。世界顶尖科学家协会与今日头条帮我联系到了一位诺贝尔奖得主巴里什。下面我们就来和巴里什教授连线。That's great. So, do you have close collaborations with Chinese scientists? Do you have some interesting stories to share with us? So, and how do you think about the situation of science and education in China? What suggestions do you have?
I have many Chinese colleagues. I started in particle physics, and I've worked on the design of accelerators, and I've worked with people, especially at the Accelerator Center in Beijing, and from Yifang Wang, who's the director, to many of the actual practicing scientists there. I also had connections with the T.D. Lee Institute in Shanghai. And so I have many long-term connections with Chinese. So I've had many Chinese students, some of whom have stayed in the US and many of whom have gone back. The Chinese are very well educated. They do very well in school when they come to the US. And I think Chinese science is, I can only admire if the students are serious, they're well trained, and their selection system, so that the very talented ones are selected for science. It's not my role to actually tell you how to improve it, because I think science is done very well in China. I think science could be done better everywhere. So the one thing that I will say applies not just to China, but to US, to Europe, anywhere. I think a really important ingredient to doing great science needs to be stimulated. And it is not stimulated by just studying and learning a lot of mathematics and scientific principles and doing a lot of studying and learning a lot of tools. It's something that it has to exist in order to make discoveries and to move forward, which I believe we're not very good at. That is, we're so insistent on training our young people to learn things and to do things, but realize that when kids are young, take a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, they ask millions and millions of questions. Children are incredibly curious. You take a student that by the time they come to my institution, Caltech, and I don't care whether they come from China or they come from the US, they're very good students, but they don't have this same driving curiosity that the students have when they're young. Our educational system can be improved. It should be improved such that we stimulate and not try to kill the natural curiosity that very young people have. I think I was very curious as a kid, and somehow I maintained that. And I think that, as much as my learning, has been a big part of my success. And I think it's true of many other scientists. I think there's a famous quote from Einstein about the importance of curiosity. So, and we even call what I do curiosity-driven research, meaning it's not just applied. So somehow, if I were to say what you should do better in China, then you'll do better than we do, because we don't do it very well either. We should change the educational system so that we don't discourage curiosity, but we actually encourage curiosity from the young age on up. And I think we'll make a much more thinking, kind of educated, but also thinking and creative adults.
You are about to participate in the first World Lawrence Forum, and this forum would be open science. So how do you think about this? What kind of open science practice do you have?
Well, I mean, open science is a word. I think it can be open in many ways. It's one thing that's, so I take the word maybe very generally, the word open science, and I think it should be. First, science knows no borders. We do the same, and we think the same. So science should be open in that way. And in order to propagate that, we've used the word open in literature as well. So we now have what we call open access journals. I'm very strongly in favor of that because the journals that we have otherwise, it costs money to make an article and publish it and distribute it. Because it costs money, you charge, somebody has to pay for it. Well, it turns out, of course, that means that the rich countries have more money to pay to publish than the poor countries. But science, as I said, has no borders. So we want any science that we do to be read everywhere, not just one place. And so by having articles that are published open to everyone, that's very important. The third, along with the second, is open access, meaning open, bringing people together to communicate with each other, like the WLA does. It's important that you have some forum where people that do science come together and interact with each other. And I think the last, which we do on our experiment on LIGO, is that one should make the real data, not just the results, but the data open. And we have a part of LIGO, if you go on our website, which is called the Open Science Center. And there we put data and some tools so people can analyze data. And people have published articles already with data that is available from us in LIGO. And I think that should be done even more as we move forward. So I'm a big advocate of open science. I think science will benefit and mankind will.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very good suggestions. So at last, you have some word to the Chinese people?
I think China, I love China. I mean, I've been to China many times.
Thank you.
I am astounded by the progress made in China from the last time I came before the pandemic. I traveled around a lot on the trains, and I hadn't done that very much before. And so this marvelous train system was built in a little over a decade. I think it connects people. It's very forward-looking. I think that China has made really great strides in the last decades. I have great admiration for that.
Thank you so much. So thank you very much for accepting our interview, and you give many bless and suggestions to China.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, we had a good time. I had a good time.